Have you ever found yourself sitting at the kitchen table after a family gathering, wondering why the conversation left you feeling smaller than when you walked in? Maybe your son brushed off your opinion about a family decision, or your granddaughter scrolled through her phone while you were sharing a story. Or perhaps it's subtler, a pattern of interruptions, jokes that sting a little too much, or plans made without your input. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you don't have to just live with it. Let's talk about something that's tough but so important. What to do when the people you love, the ones you've raised, supported, and shared decades of life with, start to treat you like your voice doesn't matter anymore. It's a painful feeling, isn't it? But here's the truth. Your worth doesn't fade with age. In fact, the wisdom you've earned over 60, 70, or 80 years is a gift. And sometimes to honor that gift, we need to rebuild our confidence and set boundaries. Not to push people away, but to remind them, and ourselves, that respect is timeless. Today, we're going to walk through 6 ways to reclaim that sense of respect and peace in your relationships. We'll start with 2 foundational steps that I've seen make a world of difference for folks just like you. And trust me, this isn't about dramatic confrontations or burning bridges. It's about small, intentional shifts that add up to big changes. Let's begin with the first step, acknowledging your worth. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Shouldn't I just let this go? Pick my battles. And sure, there's wisdom in not sweating the small stuff. But here's the thing, when you consistently swallow your hurt, when you laugh off comments that feel dismissive, or stay silent when your needs are ignored, it chips away at something precious. Your sense of self. So the first step isn't about changing anyone else. It's about giving yourself permission to say, my feelings matter here. Take my friend Margaret, for example. She spent years biting her tongue when her adult kids would forget to invite her to Sunday dinners, assuming she'd be too tired to come. She told herself it wasn't a big deal, until one day, she realized she'd stopped looking forward to weekends altogether. That's when she decided to write down how those moments made her feel, not to share with her family yet, just to admit it to herself. And you know what she said to me? It was like finally opening a window in a stuffy room. Start there. Grab a journal, or even a scrap of paper, and finish this sentence. When my family does it makes me feel no one else has to see it. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. Because when we name our feelings, we take them out of the shadows and into the light. And that's where healing begins. Once you've acknowledged that inner truth, the next step is to reclaim your voice, and that's where so many of us get stuck. We worry about sounding too sensitive, or causing drama. But here's the secret. Clear communication isn't about volume. It's about clarity and kindness. Let me give you an example. Imagine your daughter insists on managing your finances for your own good, even though you're perfectly capable. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," which can put someone on the defensive, try this. "I appreciate that you want to help, but when you take over like that, I feel like my independence is being overlooked. Can we talk about a way to handle this together?" Did you notice the difference? You're naming the action, sharing how it impacts you, and inviting collaboration. That's not complaining, that's leadership. And yes, it might feel awkward at first, especially if you've been quiet for a long time. But think of it like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now, I won't pretend this is easy. There might be pushback. Old patterns run deep. But remember, every time you speak your truth calmly and clearly, you're rebuilding that confidence brick by brick. And brick by brick, you'll start to see the walls of disrespect crumble. These first steps, acknowledging your worth and finding your voice, are about laying the groundwork. They're the quiet, steady work that happens before the bigger shifts. And once that foundation is solid, well, that's when the real transformation begins. We'll continue this journey together. For now, take a moment to ask yourself, what's one small way I can honor my feelings today? When I first started practicing those foundational steps we talked about, acknowledging my worth and speaking up with kindness, I'll admit, it felt a bit like learning to walk again. Awkward. Unsteady. But with time, something shifted. Those small, intentional steps began to carve out a new path, one where respect wasn't just hoped for, but expected. And that's where our next steps come in. Setting boundaries that honor your peace, and nurturing yourself so you've got the strength to maintain them. Let's start with boundaries. Now, I know that word can sound a little cold, maybe even confrontational. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're guideposts, a way to say, this is where I end and you begin. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't let someone trample your roses, would you? So why let them trample your peace? Take my neighbor, Robert. For years, his son would drop by unannounced every weekend, rearranging Robert's garage or fixing things without asking. Robert loved the company, but he'd end up exhausted, feeling like a guest in his own home. One day he finally said, "Jim, I cherish our time together. But I need a heads up before you come over. That way, I can be fully present, and my tools stay where I left them." Now, Jim didn't throw a parade. He grumbled a bit at first. But guess what? He started calling ahead. And Robert, he got his Saturdays back. That's the power of a clear, kind boundary. It's not about controlling others. It's about claiming your space. So here's your homework. Pick one situation where you feel drained or disrespected, and ask yourself, what would make this feel better? Maybe it's a phone call that only happens after 10 a.m., or no more unsolicited advice about your health. Then, say it plainly, without apology. And when that guilt creeps in, am I being too rigid? Should I just let it go? Remember this. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're how we teach people to love us well. It might take time. They might test you. But stand firm. Every time you hold that line, you're whispering to your soul, you matter. Now, here's the thing about boundaries. They're only as strong as the care you pour into yourself. That's why our next step is practicing radical self-care. And no, I'm not talking about spa days, though if that's your thing, by all means. I'm talking about the daily habits that refill your cup, so you're not running on empty when life gets rocky. Think of it like this. You're the steward of a priceless treasure, your well-being. Would you let a leaky roof go unfixed? Ignore a crack in the foundation? Of course not. So why let your own needs go untended? For my friend Elaine, that meant finally saying no to babysitting her grandkids every Thursday. Not because she didn't adore them, but because she needed time for her painting class. And you know what? The world didn't end. Her daughter figured out childcare, and Elaine rediscovered a piece of herself she'd forgotten. Here's the secret nobody tells you. Self-care isn't selfish. It's strategic. When you prioritize rest, joy, or that hobby that lights you up, you're building resilience. You're saying, my life isn't just about what I can do for others. It's about who I am, too. So start small. Maybe it's a 10-minute morning walk to clear your head, or turning off the phone during dinner. Whatever it is, guard it like the precious gift it is. And if guilt tries to hitch a ride, meet it with grace. You're not abandoning your family. You're modeling what it means to live fully. Because here's the beautiful ripple effect. When you honor yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Your granddaughter might just learn to set her own boundaries someday, thanks to your courage. These steps, setting boundaries and embracing self-care, they're not a one-time fix. They're a practice. Some days you'll stumble. Other days, you'll surprise yourself with your own strength. But every effort counts. Every no that protects your peace, every yes that fuels your joy. It's all part of rebuilding that beautiful, unshakable confidence that's been inside you all along. Keep going, my friend. You're not just reclaiming respect, you're rediscovering yourself. And trust me, that's a journey worth taking. You've done the hard work, haven't you? Acknowledging your worth, finding your voice, setting those boundaries, and tending to your own well-being. But here's the beautiful thing about growth. It doesn't happen in isolation. The journey to reclaiming respect and confidence isn't just about you. It's about the world you choose to surround yourself with. And that brings us to our fifth step, cultivating your tribe. Now, I'm not talking about collecting a crowd. I'm talking about the handful of people who see you, truly see you, and remind you of your strength when the world feels heavy. Think of my cousin, Frank. After his kids started treating him like an afterthought, he felt lonelier than ever. But instead of waiting for them to change, he joined a weekly chess group at the community center. Those games turned into lunches, then into friendships with folks who valued his stories and his strategy tips. That's the power of a tribe. They reflect back the best parts of you when you've forgotten how to look. Your tribe might be old friends, a book club, or even new faces at a volunteer group. The key is to seek out spaces where your presence is celebrated, not just tolerated. And yes, it takes courage to step out. But remember, every connection starts with a simple hello. Start small. Smile at the neighbor who always waves. Call that friend you've been meaning to catch up with. These threads, woven together, become a safety net for your heart. Which brings us to our final step, and this one might be the most challenging, but also the most freeing: embracing forgiveness. Now, let me be clear. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing hurtful behavior. It doesn't mean handing someone a free pass to keep disrespecting you. What it does mean is loosening the grip that resentment has on your peace. Take my friend Gloria. For years, she carried anger toward her daughter for sidelining her in family decisions. It weighed her down, until she realized that holding on to that bitterness was like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick. So she wrote a letter she never sent, listing every hurt, then burned it in her backyard fire pit. It wasn't for her, Gloria told me. It was for me. To make room for joy again. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's saying, I won't let this pain define my days. Maybe that looks like releasing a grudge, or simply deciding to focus on the relationships that nourish you. Either way, it creates space, for peace, for new beginnings, for the life you deserve. So let's tie this all together. You've learned to honor your worth, speak your truth, set boundaries, prioritize self-care, build your tribe, and release what no longer serves you. These aren't just steps, they're acts of love. Love for yourself, and for the people in your life who truly want to love you well. Now, I won't pretend every day will be easy. There'll be moments you doubt yourself, moments old habits creep back in. But progress isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, again and again, for the life you've earned. So start where you are. Pick one thing from our time together that resonates. Maybe it's writing down your feelings like Margaret, or setting a boundary like Robert, and take that first step. And if you stumble, that's okay. Come back here. Rewatch this video. Leave a comment telling us how it's going. We're all in this together. And if you found this helpful, share it with a friend. Hit like, so we know to keep creating content that matters to you. And subscribe, because this journey isn't a solo trek. We're here, walking right beside you. Remember, my friend, it's never too late to rewrite your story. To stand tall in your worth. To create a life where respect isn't a request, but a given. However this unfolds, whatever steps you take next, know that you're worthy of every bit of love, joy, and peace that comes your way. Here's to the life you've built, the courage you've found, and the beautiful journey ahead.